The same way, the way to make the mind quiet is to become an observer and let the mind realize its own futility. Mind is smart. Mind is very intelligent. In fact, that is the only way you're going to know that mind is futile, with the help of the mind. So you have to realize the very fine aspects of the mind. Crystallized mind is samadhi. Crystallized nirvichar, nirahankar. When you understand the futility of a shadow, why would you care about it? So the only way you will realize when you reach that steady state. So you have to start observing your mind. Don't fight with the mind. Don't fight with the body either. If the body is hungry, eat something. Don't do meditation when you're hungry.
Don't tell that to Lakshman. Eating part you don't tell him.
So that's
Body
exactly.
says, if your body says to eat, then we should eat.
We should eat.
Yeah, but you don't
But
listen
don't-
what your mind says.
Exactly.
You only listen to what
To the body.
says.
When the body says, I want this amount of food, you give that amount of food. Keep the body quiet. And at the same time, at the mind level, realize that excess eating is also going to create problem for me. I have never achieved anything by overeating excess. On the contrary, I have made my body suffer. So you realize that the mind, you start observing it. You don't have to go along with it. So that's how the mind also starts becoming quiet. So when the body and the mind becomes quiet, the sun starts rising. That you don't have to do anything actively. You don't have to try to become an observer, because that's another action. Observation happens when the doership stops. Doership is the utilization of the body and the mind to do something in the world, right? But when the doership stops, what else is left? Observership. Observership happens. It's not an act. We have to realize that. So, at the mind level, we don't have to praise the mind, because mind is going to create the thoughts. And the thoughts may be good, thoughts may be bad. You could be thinking of Aishwarya, or you could be thinking of
Is that a
Krishna.
bad thought? I thought it's a
Good thought, bad thoughts. So the thing is that we have to go deep inside, and we have to realize that as soon as we say that these things are good or these things are bad, we're giving a spiritual power to the mind. Goodness and badness is defined by us. We have to come out of that. We have to become neutral. There is no goodness, there is no badness. Good for what? Goodness may be defined by fragrance of a flower, or bad smell from a rotting fish, whatever. So goodness and badness is again a material aspect and defined by the senses. But in the big context of those things has no value. Because as soon as we start defining what is good and what is bad, our involvement with the mind starts. So at a very subtle level, we have to realize how the mind is playing tricks on us. So we have to become an observer. It's like husband and wife are fighting. You tell them that for 24 hours you cannot fight. Say, okay, not easy, but for 24 hours we won't fight. All right, they take an oath. Now that is happening at the body level.
Then what is left? If you don't fight, what is left
Right.
in life?
So now the question comes, that's at the body level. Now if we tell them at the mind level, you should not have any thoughts of fighting with your wife or wife with the husband. That, okay, well, I have told her so many times, don't put this here. But she does that anyway. But because Shrenik Bhai gave me an oath, I'm not going to say anything, right? So physically, you were verbally, you did not express.
Yeah.
But inside at the mind level was complaining. That, oh, she did this and he did that and this and that. So the thing is, we have to come out of that too. Now that starts becoming difficult. So at the body level, say, okay, was okay. Mind level is tough. But if we realize the intricacies, how the mind is operating, it may become easier to come out of it. So the couple says, okay, then whatever she's doing or whatever he's doing, I'm going to accept. I'm going to go with it. For 24 hours, maybe I can do it. All right? Maybe not for a lifetime, but for 24 hours, I'll do it. Now, we have to go even higher. That, oh, she does this maybe if she was doing this, these are her habits, but you know what? She should be doing this. Then it would be a lot nicer for her. I mean, you're trying to justify how you're controlling somebody else's life now, right? So now you're coming up with ideas. At the body level, there is an action. At the mind level, there are thoughts. And at the intellect level, there are ideas. So you have to realize at the three fronts, we are suffering. So when we realize the intricate workings, so we try to justify ourselves that yes, she should not be eating this, or he should be doing this. If he gets organized, he will become better off this way. If he cuts the lawn at the proper time, or if she does not eat this, this is not good for her. Now we're coming with the ideas. We are throwing our ideas on someone else. Even at that level, we are trying to control the environment. And the mind, by telling you that you are a good person, trying to improve somebody else's, it's the job of a husband to fix the wife, and whatever you should tell me if it isn't. So we are patting each other. That yes, I am doing this with a good interest in my mind of what my wife should be. Who gave you that authority? Where is the book says that your wife should be like this? Where is the book says your husband should be like this? So we play around with all these ideas and thoughts and actions which are totally useless. And these are the things which are preventing us from reaching to the samadhi. So we have to understand the mind, delicacies of the mind. So by eating certain food, by doing the meditation when you are somewhat hungry, somewhat tired, is a perfect time to do it, but that's only at the physical level. But now the tough part starts. That's easy to do it, right? So okay, you met certain. For most of the people, even that is not easy. But that's besides the point.
Keep munching
Right.
the food all the time.
But now we have to start understanding the intricacies of the mind. That we are not trying to change anybody. We are not trying to change the world. We are not trying to put our ideas into someone else. In fact, our ideas have no values. You know why? Because our ideas were intended to create the thoughts. Ideas creates thoughts, and thoughts create the action. So ultimate purpose of the ideas was what? To have an action in the world. Bhav, vichar, and kriya. All that instrument was to create and make a change in the world, but everything comes with the price of creating your ego. Because if I want to change him, I have to start with the ideas first. That, you are doing this wrong. So my idea is like this, so my thoughts will channelize this direction, and ultimately I am hoping to try to change you. Why? So all that we have to give up. In the beginning, only at the meditation level, and then little by little it spills into your daily life, right? So we should not really try to change anything in life, and then only we are really becoming at a total rest, right? So if you look at a plant, and the plant has flowers, and plant has thorns, so we should not be praising the flowers and hate the thorns, because praising the flowers draws us towards that. Hating the thorns also gets us caught up in the plant. The plant never leaves our mind because we are caught up in the goodness and the badness. Same thing, sansar, look at it as a plant. You like certain things, you don't like certain things. But the moment you praise something or you hate something, you're still in the sansar. You're never coming out of the sansar. The idea of meditation is to come out of the sansar. But we cannot do that. We should not even think that maybe the plant should be all covered up with the flowers. It would have been nice. Again, these are all ideas of changing things. You have never left the sansar. Whether you leave the sansar physically and go into Himalayas, you have not left the sansar if you go and do the same thing, that, everybody should be coming with me. Why? For what? Everybody has their own life to live. This is the best life to live. You should be doing this. You should be doing this. When you try to think that everybody should be doing what you are doing, then also you are throwing your ideas onto the sansar. You're doing it for yourself. To reach to the samadhi level, you have to give up all these concepts that you are here to change anything. Right? So, basically that's why the SSY meditation says this. You become dead to to the world. As a dead person, you have no ideas. Even if something needs to be done, you cannot. You are literally incapable. If you are a dead body, you cannot do anything. If somebody passes by, don't do anything. If a wind passes by, don't pay attention. Little by little, you just become an observer of the whole thing. So Mullah Nasruddin once went asking his wife. Mullah Nasruddin is not so smart, right? So he asked his wife, how do you know if somebody is dead? He's not a doctor. And these old days, doctors were not really doctors either. So he asked his wife, how do you know if somebody is dead? So his wife says,
I didn't kill him. That's how I know.
Right. So his wife says, maybe your body starts becoming cold. That's how you know. So now that starts getting into Mullah Nasruddin's head. So he goes to the jungle to get the firewood. Now it's a very early morning, it's very freezing cold. And as he's cutting the woods and all that, his body starts becoming cold. So now he suddenly remembers that my wife told me that when the body becomes cold, you're dead. So now he says, I'm dead. Now what can you do? You're in the middle of jungle. Now you cannot walk back home either.
No cell phones.
No cell phones. You cannot walk back because dead people don't walk. So you just stay there. And there's nothing you can do. And then he started standing there. He lay down on the ground because dead people don't stand. So he lays down on the ground and the body becomes even more cold. So now he cannot do anything. So there were some people passing by and it's freezing cold. The body is very cold. And he wasn't moving. So they really thought that he was dead. So he says, out of respect, we should, bury him, into the burial ground. So let's carry back to the village. So they started preparing, things, and they made the effigy and made out and put him on and he cannot resist because he knew he was dead. And dead people don't talk, don't protest. So let them do whatever, they were not actually doing a good job in making it, and Mullah Nasruddin knew how to build up, but he said, you can't tell, you're dead, you're not supposed to say anything, right? So he goes along with the flow and this and that. So they're carrying him on his shoulders, on their shoulders, and then they reach to the village. Now these people were from outside. They didn't know which way the burial ground was. So now Mullah Nasruddin says, so he gets up and he says, when I used to be alive, the burial ground would be on the right side. So the guy says, why didn't you say so? We thought you were dead. I thought I was dead too. So Mullah Nasruddin. So that's how we have to become dead. We have no actions are required on your part. The world is beautiful as it is, despite you. Despite you being around, believe me, the world is beautiful. I picked up a beautiful video of a peonies this morning. It was fully blown, nice and pink. And when the wind came, it was going around. All this beauty is being created without you, without your any input in that. And not just here. Millions of peonies and millions of flowers all over the world. All the butterflies, everything is happening totally without your input. And what do you think you can do any different? Other than being what you were supposed to be. And that's it. There is no more and no less either. You have the same right to enjoy the breeze what the blade of grass is enjoying. So you are born with the same consciousness, same alertness, same awareness. Every single thing has the awareness, as the gift of awareness. Awareness is God. Awareness is the consciousness. Change is consciousness. It's continuously happening. You are in the middle of it. Without your ego, things would be a lot nicer.
So moral of this is that accept the world as it is, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that total acceptance, the samadhi happens. Because a lot of times the teachings are wrong, like when people are told to concentrate on certain and this and that, the concentration itself is an act. Again, you get caught up and things will never come out of it. Rajneesh always tells the story of an old lady, mother of one of his devotees, and he says, my mother is 90-year-old and she's heavily into, doing the jap mala and all that. Should I bring her? Because I know you don't believe in all these things, and she may get shocked listening to your preachings that all these things are not necessary. More important thing is to go within. So Rajneesh says, if your mother is 90-year-old, you better bring her, because she doesn't have much of a life left to make a change. He says, you sure? He says, yeah, don't worry about it. She'll be fine. So she does come, and his lecture and everything is over. The next day the guy calls me. He says, you don't realize how my mother has changed. He says, when I asked my mom, did you learn anything from Rajneesh's lecture?
Yeah, I think somebody fell.
So the guy says that my mother was attending your lecture, and after realizing what you have said, she left her mala right there. After doing what she did for 50 years, awakening started, and she realized that all these actions, has that taken me anywhere? It has not. So it's time for a change. That is a sign of a young mind. When you're ready to accept a change at any time in your life, you are young. But people are at 20s and 30s. They cannot accept the change. They get stuck into certain things and keep on doing it. That's a sign of an old mind. So youngness and oldness is defined at your heart level, at your soul level. So we have to realize that. So a lot of things are taught wrong, concentrating on certain things. Again, some people says you have to still your body, no matter what. Because it's like a container of oil. If the container is not steady, the oil cannot become steady. These are all wrong thinkings. Body, if you're not, in the meditation, if you're not going to be the body, what difference does it make? If you're feeling uncomfortable, change your position. That's fine too. If a mosquito grabs, just wave around. That's fine. So be comfortable. Let the body do what it needs to do. You're not going to interfere because you are not the body. Same way, when the mind is thinking, let it think. It is not your job to stop it either. It is the job of the mind to think. So let it think. You have nothing to do with that. So the consciousness is operating continuously. And when it is operating continuously, the creations are happening. And when you understand all these things, your ego will drop. For example, if a tree is growing and you ask a tree what it is doing, it will say, well, I'm growing. I'm making a big difference. I'm creating a shade. I'm getting taller and I'm doing all these things. And then you ask the tree the questions. Well, where did you come from? Well, maybe a seed. Between the seed to the tree level, what contributed to your growth? You didn't need the soil? Of course I need. So the soil was needed. Nourishment was needed. And what about the sunrise? All these daily suns and all the energy. Oh yeah, I needed that too. And how about the rain that brought the water? That also was required. And a cow came and ate certain trees, certain branches, and some side branches started coming out. All that new growth came. So all the terrestrial events, the consciousness in the form of sun, consciousness in the form of a soil, consciousness in the form of a cow, consciousness in the form of a wind or sunlight or the rainwater, all these are contributing for a tree to grow. Where is the individual identification of the tree? The same way you're growing because it's happening. You're not doing anything on your own. When I was a kid, we had my friend, and he had a younger brother. It was very funny. He says, because it was like, at age in India, everybody grows mustache, right? So I was like 17, 18 or something. So he asked me, oh, you also growing mustache? I said, no, it's happening on its own. I'm not making anything to grow. If you put a seed in the ground, what are you doing? You're just providing the conditions for the seed to become a plant. You're not going into a laboratory and breaking the seed out and making the plant come out of it. Everything is happening. So you can say that the consciousness, it has decided to come out in the form of a tree at the will, so-called will of the consciousness. We have nothing to do with that. So when you realize all these things, we become part of a huge conglomerate of the consciousness, expressing in all different ways, playing around with us, and it becomes the dance of consciousness, and we are part of that dance. The only way you can reach that state, the samadhi, when you realize that your importance in the part of a total dance, a finger or a toe or arm or a leg or the eye has no importance. It's the total dance of consciousness that's more important. That's when samadhi happens. So much for today.
Good.
Thank you.